You have to put your full attention on them. If you're trying to get what you want and putting your attention on what you want, that's already a breakdown. If you're clear about what you want and what you need, then you've got to really be skilled and very sophisticated about this, because you've got to find some reason why the people in your life would want to give you what you need. Or they're going to find that you need other people in your life. So your ability to understand other people is tied to your ability to motivate other people. And motivating other people is the #1 secret to getting your own needs met. And of course, it's not quite that simple, but that's where you have to start. You have to start by changing your entire focus. It's like on your iPhone. You can either take a photo of, that, or you can switch it and the camera now takes a picture of you. So what I'm saying, you're focusing on yourself. You need to hit that button so it's over there, focusing on them.
Thank you, Susan. That's very clear, and I appreciate that. And I'm curious why there are so few people that really know how to communicate in a way that really gets what they want.
Well, where would you have learned how to do it? You certainly didn't learn it at home. I don't know anyone who did. You certainly didn't learn it at school. I don't know anyone who did. There's no graduate course. I've spent, as everybody who knows me knows, I spent $1 million on workshops and intensives and, trainings and all that, participating in them, not giving them, but paying money to be there and be trained. And still, it took me 40 plus years, and I still had to come up with a lot of these tools and skills myself. It just doesn't exist. This is the evolutionary component of being a human being. If you believe in Darwin, then originally we came out of the sea. Well, thank God we're, on land, and we've been on land for millions of years, but until very recently, we weren't able to communicate in a way that was peaceful and motivating. That's why we have so many wars. That's why we're in a terrorist situation. So you have to learn how to do it, and I am delighted to teach you.
I'm really thrilled about that, Susan. We need more peace, and that's what our show's about. So what are these ingredients of getting what you want, let's say, on a regular basis?
So the good news is you've heard this before if you know me or if you've watched Gigi's show, and I've been on it. You've heard this before. You've got to understand who people are and what their needs are. You can't kid yourself about it. You can't wait for some other day. You can't postpone this. Today's the day you have to figure out the people in your life and what their needs are. So send me an email and I will come up with a time that works for both of us and we'll talk. If you've already worked with me and you've already been my client, then you already know about the different needs people have based on the Herman brain dominance model that talks about the different kinds of human beings that there are. There being 4 different kinds of human beings. Thank you, Fred, for putting that up. And if you want me to send you a copy of that, again, send me an email. Happy to do it. So if you understand the different needs that people have, that is the first step. But if you don't understand how to communicate with people based on their needs, if you haven't mastered the 6-part conversation, or maybe you've never even heard about it, thanks, Fred, for that as well, then you're not going to be able to motivate them. So that's the key. If you know who people are, you really know who they are, you really understand them, then you're going to also have to learn how to communicate with them. So it's 2 different sets of skills that we're talking about.
Very nice. Now, this is another complicated question for you. Why is couples counseling such a challenge for so many of the clients that contact you during a desire for reconciliation? And why do so many patients, or let's say of couples counseling, why do they end up divorced?
Couples counseling has a lot of problems because it's part of the psychotherapeutic, component that's been around for 100 plus years. But you don't have to go that route anymore because it's only 25% successful anyway. So let's talk about what works. So if you go to my website, heartspacesolutions.com, you'll see my 4-hour video training, which is so affordable, and it comes with another free session with me, and it comes with now 10 different special reports, so more information about whatever challenges you have. If you don't want to go that route, you can listen to my newest free training, which is at Beyond Divorce, and thank you so much for putting that up on the screen. And that's happening December 3rd, and then it will be archived for a while. So sign up right away because there's limited listening available. So the question really is, do you want to learn to do what works? Do you really want to do what works? Because if you do, I'm showing you lots of ways that you can make it work for you. The cost is either very low. If you want to listen to that training 100 times, you could listen to it. If you want to listen to this one and record it on December 3rd, you can listen to that again and again. You have the opportunity. It's up to you.
Very worthwhile. And so my next question is, what must somebody really do if they are in couples counseling that works and will really create peace with a partner?
Well, I've had lots and lots of you who've been clients who came to me with the awful problem that your wife or your husband had dragged you into couples counseling. You didn't know why it wasn't working. You didn't know what to do. And I've said, this is a great opportunity. So this is a wonderful opportunity to be in the presence of your spouse and the presence of her or his therapist, and you can convince both of them simultaneously what a fabulous person you are and what an irresistible spouse you are, but you got to know how to do it. So all of this speaking your truth needs to go out the window. If you're in couples counseling, or if you're in a very difficult marriage, or if you're on the verge of divorce, nobody's interested in hearing your truth. Nobody. It's shocking, I know, and you may be furious when you hear me say that, but I'm assuming you really want to know what works and you want to save your marriage. What works? You go into couples counseling and you declare the first moment you can, I just want to say to you, and whatever your wife or husband's name is or partner, you are the perfect partner for me. I am committed to learning everything I need to learn how to do in order to turn this relationship around. I am committed, and I am learning, and I've just signed up for some training, and I'm taking the training, and I am going to show you that I can express myself in a loving and compassionate and committed way. You just need to give me a little time. I need a few weeks to learn this stuff. And then if the therapist wants to get in your face and say, well, where do you learn? I'm happy to display all of this, discuss all this, and have a conversation about all this in a couple of weeks after I've learned some things. Because you're not a slave. So the mistake that people make in couples counseling is they're really either difficult, so they come in complaining and they think somehow that's going to work, and it will never work. Or they come in as a slave, oh, I'll do whatever he says, I'll do whatever she says, and of course you feel resentful. Any human being is going to feel resentful if they behave like a slave.
Thank you, Susan. That's very helpful. I've been in that situation. I know that's how the game is played. So what a delight.
It's a guarantee of a losing game.
There you go.
Both of you lose.
Yes. So therefore, what is the benefit of therapy when there are relationship issues, and how can they really help people get a peaceful divorce or a reconciliation that really sticks?
Well, you know, therapy is a fantastic way of understanding the past. When I was 16 and 17 and 18, I was in therapy too. So therapy is great to understand where you're coming from. If you're in a relationship with somebody who does not meet enough of your needs, you and your therapist in private, not with your spouse there, but in private can talk about how you were confused about what kind of a spouse to look for because of the limitations of your relationship with your mother or your father. That's very helpful. You can stop blaming your partner right away because you see that it was your choosing that was broken, not your partner who's broken. Or you may wonder why you have issues yourself that your partner complains about. And then you may find that either you were incested or you were raped or something horrible happened to you, And again, you can stop blaming your partner, and you can share the information with your partner if you choose to, and work on that with your partner in a very different way. Instead of blaming somebody because one or more of your needs aren't met, you begin to understand your past and take responsibility for it. Then you can start turning it around.
I like that. Very nice. Self-discovery and letting go and moving forward. And I know, Susan, that you do a lot of reconciliation work when, let's say, one or both of your partners wants the relationship to turn around. And so how does learning the Heartspace system skills create that reconciliation in 99% of the couples that I know that you've worked with, when at least just one of them masters these skills?
Thank you. So Fred, if you'd put the 6-part conversation up again, that would be really helpful. Because what I want you guys to understand is when you're working to turn a relationship around, you see where you start. Self-empathy is number one. You're starting by silently bringing yourself to peace. You're not talking. You're silently bringing yourself to peace. You're not texting. You're not writing an email. You have to be virtually silent until you're absolutely calm. Then part 2 is where you speak, but you speak all about your partner. It sounds as if you're feeling really frustrated because you really hoped that for Thanksgiving this year, we would be going to see your family. Is that right? And your partner says, blah, 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 blah. And I know that last year we had talked about that as a possibility, and I know that you must be feeling really annoyed because we weren't able to find a way to afford the tickets for all of us to fly to wherever it might be. Yes, and now your partner starts to feel heard and feel understood, and you keep doing that. That's empathy. When your partner is finally calm and quiet, which can take some time, this is a new skill set for you, then you'd say, would you be willing to hear some of my thoughts? And if you've truly calmed your partner down, if you've really heard him or heard her, then they'll say sure. And if not, it means you just need to go back to part 2 and do some more. And then part 3 is where you say, would you be willing to hear some of my thoughts? And then you keep going. And my 4-hour training has lots of examples of this. I'll have examples of this in my free teleseminar on December 3rd. And Gigi and I have done lots of shows. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll be able to hear me do the 6-part conversation, at length.
It's wonderful, Susan. I'm really thrilled with that. And it works.
It does. Thank you.
So
When we remember to use it, right?
Oh, yes, all that. We can get triggered. I know I have issues occasionally myself. Yes. Well, what about the partners that you teach? And I'm curious, do they have to do it all on their own to create a fantastic relationship or to turn around a difficult one?
When I hear somebody say, well, what are you telling me that I'm supposed to do with all that? What about her? What is she supposed to be doing while I'm being this brilliant communicator? Or what about him? Well, this gives you real power. This is not about you resenting the effort that you have to put into it and they're not putting in any effort, though I certainly understand why you would see it that way, which is also true. The bottom line is when you know how to motivate people, you have choices in life. You're not a slave anymore. You don't get pushed around. You don't get kicked to the curb. If there's a relationship you really want with a partner, with a neighbor, with a child, with a family member, with a boss, with a coworker, with a man in the moon, you can create that relationship and make it work. The people who have mastered these skills make more money, they have less divorces, they have more peace. And I don't mean the people who study with me for a few sessions. Unfortunately, I cannot legislate whether people are willing to learn, because learning is either something that you have a lifelong learning commitment and a longing to learn, that's usually part of your family background, or if you don't, there's a price you pay. You may not pay the price for the education, but as Ben Franklin said, you pay a higher price.
Exactly. Now, could you give us an example of somebody who wasn't really getting what he or she wanted in their career, and would you have taught your client?
Yeah, I was hearing about this boss, and this woman has a very, very, very big career and makes a lot of money. So I was hearing about the boss, and I was hearing about the boss, and I was hearing about the boss, and God knows he sounded like an impossible creep. He really did. Aside from the fact that she makes an enormous amount of money. And so at some point you have to notice that you're in this mindset where you've disconnected yourself from this person, your boss. You're resenting your boss. You're complaining, whether it's out loud or silently. Your body language, even if you don't roll your eyes, your body language has that rolling the eyes or cutting the eyes component. And I worked with her and I said, you know, you've gotten yourself in a position where you probably want to get another job. You probably don't have the ability in this short period of time to turn this around fast enough. Whereas with a new boss, you could put yourself on, you know, your best conduct, make sure you learn these skills from me. She's watched this 4-hour video training again and again and again. And now she is very close to being offered any of 3 huge jobs. And that's because her performance in her telephone conversations and in her interviews has been about 100 degrees different from what she had been doing for all these years with her boss. So she acquired new skills, and she's getting better and better and better new results.
The magic of those great communication skills. Now, let's explore this question. What about a married man, and how does he make it better and get more of what he wants in his marriage?
Well, again, the real danger is complaining. You know, that's the real danger. So if you have this habit of saying to yourself, and whatever the words are that accompany that, you have to give that up right now. The bottom line is the person you're angry at is not your partner, it's you. That you've not been able to get your needs met because you don't know how to get your needs met. That's the bottom line. You're doing your best, your partner's doing his or her best, you just don't have the skills. Now, when you face the fact that you're not getting your needs met in your marriage because of you and not because of her, you and not because of him, that begins to change everything. So now you commit yourself to learning how to communicate in a way that works instead of what you've been doing. So that means you have to empathize with your partner about her feelings and needs or his feelings and needs. And it could be anything. I gave you the example of Thanksgiving. Maybe now it has something to do with the children. Maybe they're home for the holidays. So, you know, if I'm the husband, instead of complaining, then I would say, Jane, I know you're really excited because the kids are coming tomorrow and we're going to have a house full of people again. And I know how much you love that. And maybe she starts to complain. Maybe the two of you have gotten so far away from what works that even if you stop complaining, she continues, which is typical, by the way. Oh yeah, but I've got a lot of work and you never help, and oh my goodness, the money we spend, right? So you have to keep going with motivating and inspiring empathetic communication. Yeah, I know it's so much work that you take upon yourself every year, and I can only imagine how overwhelming it may seem today on Tuesday when everybody's going to be here tomorrow night, and then we have other guests coming on Thursday, and I know how important it is for you to have everything so beautifully done. And if you keep that up, eventually, I promise you, you will stop hearing complaints, and you will hear what a lot of my clients hear, which is their wife saying to them, I can't believe it, you finally understand me.
I like that. What a sweet connection. Good skills, Susan. Why is letting go of anger so critical to getting what we want in life? And how does complaining, which happens when people don't let go of their anger, stop someone from getting what they want?
Well, I don't know about you when somebody's in your face, but most of us take about 10 steps back, or we leave the room, or we leave the building. So if you haven't learned that yet in your own life experiencing people's anger, this would be a really good thing to start paying attention to. Because Anger certainly doesn't work when you're the recipient of it. So if it doesn't work when you're on the receiving end, the odds are it doesn't work when you're on the giving end, unless you are very excited about ending that relationship. So the only time I let myself express anger is when I'm done. When I've had enough, whatever I'm getting out of the relationship simply isn't worth it to me if I have to put up with whatever has just happened. And that's fine. If you are ready to move on, then that's the perfect time to express your anger. But that's not usually when people do it. They do it, as Gigi said, when they're triggered and they don't have enough skills. So your job is to learn how to be silent and practice self-empathy before you communicate in any way when nothing big is going on, when it's nothing particularly upsetting, so that when something really upsetting does happen, you are fully prepared. And if you start practicing today, and you practice this every single day, you could be ready for an upset in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. If you don't practice this every day, you're going to have the same temper that you had the last time when something happens the next time.
Boy, nice to work on the anger, isn't it? Inside job there. Now, I know that sometimes getting what you want can be a matter of life or death, and how do your clients go through difficult, let's say, divorces, and how do they get what they want from their attorney?
Well, one of my clients who's wonderful, who actually recommended this show, who I'm sure is watching, was having real challenges in picking an attorney in what is basically a life or death situation in her divorce. Very serious. And she didn't have the training until she met me. And she had a habit of just speaking. Very lower right brain person, very emotional person, very connecting person, a lovely, lovely, adorable person, except this lower right brain habit of telling people what's on our mind doesn't work. People don't care what's on our mind. I said it before and I'm going to keep saying it. They don't care. And they don't know what to do with it anyway. So you don't express what's on your mind. You get very clear, particularly with an attorney, about what you're there for. So in her case, I taught her to say 5 words. Not 500 words, but 5 words about her case. Because even though she has this very complicated case, there are in fact only about 5 words that you need to speak to any attorney about anything when you begin. You need to carefully figure out what it is that you need help with, and the 5 or 6 or 10 words that that attorney needs to hear, so he or she needs to know what the problem is and what he or she is being asked to fix. And it took us quite a while, but she got it. She finally went to a very important meeting like that. She got all the information she wanted. She's now picked her attorney with conversations with me, and now she's on the way to safety and a peaceful divorce.